Don't you feel like asking, when will STPM 2023 ever end? Well, for biology at least, we know the answer. It will end on the 17th of April. But that's not the end of our stress, because on April 24th, we'll have to come face to face with our STPM 1 repeat paper. Now, those of you who are watching BioWorld's episode today, I'm sure there are many of you who are the prepared group of students. So today's video can help you focus on which topics to practice more on. But there would also be those of you who are unprepared and too stressed to prepare because you only have one more week. Okay, so I hope today's BioWorld will help simplify or narrow down topics for you to revise. And if there are teachers among you watching this video, maybe you can suggest my recommendations to your weakest of students so that they don't give up. So let's have a look at my STPM 2023 repeat SEM 2 analysis. Come join me in BioWorld. But before I move on, I must thank all of you wonderful people who have subscribed to my channel. It's such a warm feeling to know that at least 1,000 people have benefited from the little knowledge that I share on my channel. So let's move on now. Let me do a little bit of backstory. If you go to my revision playlist in my channel, I've actually had 3 videos on the revision, where in 2022, actually 2023 where the STPM 2022 students set for their repeat SEM 2 paper, I of course was not confident enough to come into detailed predictions, but I played safe by giving a general review. Then last year for 2023, when I did my STPM 1 analysis, you said for 2024, of course, I got 78% correct. And that's what gave me confidence to try to predict or recommend, not predict, recommend for your SEM 3. So if you see in SEM 3, out of the 24 subtopics in our syllabus, I minimized your revision to 14 subtopics. And to my absolute delight, actually, out of the 14 subtopics, 5 of the subtopics naturally were tested in the 5 questions, structure and essay. So I feel quite confident now to continue to recommend my suggestions for your repeat paper. But of course, as always, nothing is 100%, right? So please do not hold me responsible. It is your responsibility to decide whether or not to follow my suggestions. So come, let's move on. Here is my analysis for your STPM 2 papers from 2013 right up to 2023, where I have shown the structure questions in yellow and the essay questions in pink. In fact, I have shared the link to this PDF file in the description, so you can actually print out and do your own analysis of it. Okay, from my observation, I've tried to minimize your burden of revision to only 13 out of the 24 subtopics. Okay, those subtopics are the ones that I have highlighted in blue, right? And I'm sure you will notice that there is a big white space here indicating I'm not expecting these topics to be tested. In fact, when I was doing the analysis, I also got a bit apprehensive, a bit cautious when I saw 2 chapters missing from my analysis. So upon further investigation, I'll share with you what I found out. You see, here I have a table where the boxes in black indicate the years where these chapters were not tested. So actually, every year of the exam, there are chapters that are completely not tested. Okay, like in 2013, there was only 1 chapter not tested. And the repeat, there were 2 chapters not tested. So usually you can see it's about 2 chapters that are not tested. All right, so I think it is quite safe for me to come up with the idea that maybe chapter 8 and chapter 9 may not be tested this year, because if you see the trend, it has been over tested. Chapter 8 every single year. And chapter 9 also has been going on for a very long time. So as I always say, uh, my disclaimer, follow at your own risk. But for those of you who are really struggling to prepare for your STPM 2, I would recommend maybe you just skip exercises for chapter 8 and 9, focus on my other topics. So we'll start with the first chapter, gas exchange. Let's start with my suggestions for chapter 7. But before that, let me tell you that the playlist for semester 2 is quite complete. So as students preparing with this time limit of only 1 week, you can always just watch the videos and practice the questions. Okay, so like for chapter 7, I suspect 7.1 and 7.3 have a higher frequency of being tested. So you can watch these 4 videos. One on carbon dioxide transport, because it was tested in 2016 last. Then you can also watch on the oxygen transport. It's never been tested. Okay, then you have Bohr effect, which was tested in 2016 repeat as an essay question. And finally, for plants, you can study the stomata structure part, because it was last tested in 2021 as a structure question. Last year, of course, 2023, the ion accumulation, potassium ion accumulation hypothesis was tested. So it's improbable that they will test that topic again this year, this time around. Okay, so when you are doing your preparation, make sure you are able to explain the transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide in blood. You are able to explain the Bohr effect and relate it to the oxygen dissociation curve. And finally, you should be able to describe the structure and function of stomata. So let's see the next chapters. Now, this is the one I'm a little apprehensive to recommend. But as I said, for those of you who are really struggling with your biology, then you can give it a try. Whereby chapter 8, which involves transport in mammals, that is the heart, related to the heart, and transport in plants involving the xylem and the phloem. Okay, and chapter 9, the part on the nervous system and hormones. Well, as I said, I feel maybe, hopefully, this year, these 2 chapters will not be tested. Let me now talk about chapter 11. So in chapter 11, I feel 11.2 and 11.4 have a higher probability of being tested. And these 2 subtopics are about the liver and plants. So if you see the frequency of how they have been tested, the topic on liver seems to be such a favorite topic. You can see it's been tested in 14, 17, 17 repeat, then 18 repeat, 19 repeat, 2020 and 2020 repeat, and even last year. Okay, but because it's a wide topic, it can still be tested for the repeat. Then the other part of the liver you have is the metabolism of protein. That too was last tested in 2020 repeat. And the plants topic was last tested in 2022. So when you are doing revision for these parts, the aspects you need to know are the description of the structure of the liver, know how to label each part of the liver acinus, and explain the role of its components. Then for the protein metabolism, you should know transamination, deamination, and urea formation based on ornithine cycle. Then we move on to the plants part. So the plants, you just need to be able to describe the role of the stomata in regulating water loss, importance of transpiration, and also the adaptations by halophytes and xerophytes to reduce water loss. Okay, so we move on to the next chapter. It is with a heavy heart that I have to tell you, you have to study everything in chapter 12. And what makes matters worse for me is that my playlist for chapter 12 only includes 3 videos. I never completed this chapter. You only have a video on cell-mediated immune response, humoral immune response, and the role of the lymphatic system in immunity. I am so sorry about that. And if you look at the distribution of questions, you can see it was tested almost every year. Okay, you look at 2013 repeat, 2014 repeat, 2015 repeat, 2016 both repeat and not repeat, 2017 repeat, 2018 both normal and repeat, 2019 both normal and repeat, 2021 normal and repeat, 2022 normal and repeat. So with this type of a frequency and in 2023 not being tested, it's impossible it won't be tested this year. It's definitely going to be tested this year. And the scope is quite wide. So what I'm going to try to do is try to minimize what you need to cover. But actually chapter 12, everything needs to be covered. I can just try to make it more possible for you by sharing with you what most possibly can come out. So in chapter 12, what you need to be aware of to answer the questions are, firstly, to be able to describe the structure and function of antibodies, antigens, epitopes, as well as the development of B cells and T cells. Okay. Then you also must, of course, know how to explain cell-mediated and the humoral immune response. So this I've covered well in our videos, so you can watch that. You should also be able to outline the antigen-antibody reactions, which include precipitation, agglutination, neutralization, and complement fixation. So these 2 parts are covered in my video, so you are quite safe. Okay, then we have another category, that is the concept of self and non-self during organ transplant. So pay attention to this topic. And if we talk about autoimmune diseases, okay, you can focus on SLE. So I hope this can be of a guide on your chapter 12 preparation. So now let's go on to our last chapter. Here's another chapter in which I am guilty of not having made any preparation in my playlist. Okay, but as a compromise, I can advise that you don't really have to study the whole chapter, right? Pay a little extra attention to subtopics 13.3 and 13.5. So 13.3 is about cholera, because as you can see, cholera was last tested as a structure question in 2018 repeat. Okay, and then 13.5 is about malaria, and malaria was also last tested as a structure question in 2020. So when studying for cholera and malaria, the main things that will be tested or that you need to know of are the cause, what is the bacteria that causes cholera, what is the protozoa that causes malaria. Remember, the mosquito is just a vector. Then the symptoms of the disease. How would you know you have cholera? How would you know you have malaria? Okay, and the transmission. How do you get cholera? How do you get malaria? And finally, prevention. Okay, prevention here, normally you have to talk about prevention as an individual, and then prevention as a community, and also prevention by the government. So that sort of sums up the scope of what you are to prepare for over this 1 week. I, as usual, wish you all the best of luck and hope very much to see each and every one of you students entering university later this year. Bye-bye.